Xishuangbanna is a tropical paradise full of extraordinary cultures and a greater variety of plants and animals than anywhere else in China. Inside the vast expanse of pristine forest, everything from the plants to the people have their roots in tropical Southeast Asia. "14 different ethnic groups live, work, and play along the banks of the mighty Mekong River. Xishuangbanna is called a green gem in the imperial botanical crown, hidden far to the south in the land of the dragon. The Mekong is the longest river in Southeast Asia. From its headwaters high in the Tibetan Plateau, almost half of its 3,000-mile journey to the sea flows through China. When the river reaches the nation's southern borders, it helps create the fertile paradise of Xishuangbanna. Thanks to its unique geography and climate, Xishuangbanna contains the largest remaining stands of pristine tropical forest in China. Tucked into a southern corner of Yunnan province, Xishuangbanna nestles against the neighboring countries of Myanmar and Laos. Covering an area of less than 8,000 square miles, the region is smaller than New Jersey, but contains a remarkable diversity of plants and animals. Xishuangbanna sits at the northern limit for tropical rainforests in Southeast Asia. High mountains in the north block cold air flowing down from the Himalayas and trap warm air from the Indian Ocean, creating a hot, humid, windless tropical climate. In most of China, winter is a world of ice and snow. But in Xishuangbanna, there are only two seasons, hot and dry, and hot and humid. For plants fertilized by the waters of the mighty Mekong, Xishuangbanna is a tropical paradise. Xishuangbanna lies in a botanical transition zone. It's the meeting point for the plants of three distinct regions: Malaya, Himalaya, and South China. The region has such amazing biodiversity. It's long been known as China's kingdom of plants and animals. It's estimated Xishuangbanna contains 1/6 of the nation's species of plants and 1/4 of all the species of animals found in China. In 1993, Xishuangbanna became a Unesco Biosphere Reserve, a unique kind of protected area that, unlike a national park, aims not only to conserve species and ecosystems, but also to promote sustainable development in communities of the surrounding region. For thousands of years, the indigenous peoples of Xishuangbanna have well understood the benefits of living in harmony with nature. Each of the region's 14 ethnic groups has created its own distinctive customs and colorful folklore, complete with ceremonies to welcome visitors into their culture. For centuries, the people of Xishuangbanna have been isolated from the rest of the world. In the mid-19th century, it took a month and a half to walk to the capital of Yunnan province. Even today, it's a 10-hour journey by road. "50 years ago, Xishuangbanna was a predominantly rural area, and the indigenous peoples were perfectly at home in the forest-covered mountains. Today, visitors from across China come to Xishuangbanna to immerse themselves in the culture of different ethnic minorities and to see wild peacocks. Xishuangbanna is known as the land of the peacock. People from the Dai ethnic minority revere the peacock as a symbol of good fortune, happiness, and beauty. The movements of the bird have been incorporated into a dance that is famed throughout China. The Peacock Dance of the Dai ethnic minority is just one of many traditional dances performed in Xishuangbanna. This dance incorporates movements from daily life, simple activities like washing, cleaning, and cooking. According to legend, more than 1,000 years ago, the Dai learned to dance when a tribal leader started imitating the elegant gestures of the peacock. Over generations, the movements became formalized in traditional dance. There are more than 1 million Dai living in China, an ethnic group with cultural similarities to people living in neighboring Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam. In China, the colorful costumes and traditions of the Dai ethnic minority are found throughout southern Yunnan province, but most people live in the fertile valleys of Xishuangbanna. It's said the Dai first came here when chasing a golden deer. Xishuangbanna lies on the southern borders of China, adjacent to Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, which is why there's a strong Southeast Asian influence over both its wildlife and its people. According to legend, the Dai ethnic minority first came here on a hunting trip. Once, a Dai chieftain led hunters into a forest where he found a gold-colored deer. It fled, with the hunters in pursuit, following the deer over 9,999 mountains and 9,999 rivers. When the deer plunged into a lake and disappeared, lotus flowers bloomed in its wake, and each flower had 1,000 petals. The Dai chieftain decided to make this land his home. He called it Mangbalanashi, which translates as an ideal and wonderful paradise. The name may have changed, but Xishuangbanna is still a tropical paradise. The Dai were one of the first people to grow rice in southern China, in fields plowed by elephants and irrigated by the waters of the mighty Mekong. In villages established along rivers or streams, the Dai live in large bamboo houses built on stilts. High above the ground, the houses are safe from frequent flooding and well clear of snakes and insects. The Dai people have a reverential love of water, as they consider it the source of all life. It provides fish to eat, a place to bathe, and a venue for racing dragon boats. In the Dai calendar, the new year is celebrated with a day of dragon boat competitions. It's a way to farewell the old year. The boats race in the hope of chasing away all the illnesses and bad fortune of the past, and to bring good weather and bumper harvests in the future. Today, visitors are taken for a quick voyage around a lake. But the largest race in Xishuangbanna occurs on a wide stretch of the Mekong River. The race is held in honor of a good-natured dragon spirit who helped a local hero outwit an evil king. Most of the local villages compete, with up to 70 rowers in each boat. The rowers practice for 10 days under the watchful eye of the village chief. Both men and women compete. Young mothers are believed to be the strongest rowers, possibly because they're more dedicated to the practice. The dragon boat races are a celebration of the role water plays in Xishuangbanna daily life. To the Dai ethnic minority, water is the very heart and soul of the people. Water is also a symbol of religious purity. Situated on the flank of Buddhist Thailand and Myanmar, religion has a deep influence on local residents in Xishuangbanna. In Xishuangbanna, the Dai ethnic minority are devout Buddhists. Every village has its own temple, built using the characteristic architecture of Southeast Asia. 2 statues in the gateway protect the worshippers and keep out evil. The temples are also home to Buddhist monks in their saffron-colored robes. Traditionally, all Dai males are required to become monks. They leave home at the age of 6 to live in monasteries. In Xishuangbanna, young monks attend their local school during the day, but return to the monastery to learn about their Dai culture. The young men are taught the Dai language, study Buddhist scripture, and join in the monastery's daily prayers. The language of the Dai was created over 1,000 years ago and is closely related to the growth of Buddhism in the region. The Dai living in China have their own separate written language. In the past, Buddhist scriptures were inscribed on leaves of an indigenous tropical plant. Historically, only men were able to study the written language in Buddhist temples. The simple saffron or ochre robes of the monks are a symbol of their humility and sacrifice, emulating the Buddha's humble garb and representing the monks' detachment from the physical world in their pursuit of enlightenment. Traditionally, the robes were boiled with spices such as turmeric or saffron which gave the cloth the characteristic yellow-orange color. In Buddhism, the color white denotes purity and holiness. And in Xishuangbanna, the elephant is well known for its strength and intelligence, so a white elephant is especially revered. The temples are exquisitely decorated and maintained, as the Dai are a devout people and worship Buddha every day. There are more than 500 temples and 200 pagodas in Xishuangbanna. The temples provide a place not only for religious activities, but also for celebrations, the election of leaders, and mediation of disputes. Pagodas and towers, which originated in India, are religious shrines unique to Buddhism. One of the oldest in Xishuangbanna is the White Pagoda. Built in 1204, it's said to contain the footprint of Buddha. The religious architecture of the Dai people is the most spectacular in Xishuangbanna. But not all ethnic minorities in the region are Buddhist. In Xishuangbanna, on the southern borders of China, the biggest city is found on the fertile banks of the Mekong River. According to legend, it was named after a dispute with a fire devil. It's said a dark lord once occupied the town by force and compelled 7 local maidens to marry him. Desperate to be rid of the tyrant, the 7th wife tempted him with drink and discovered his secret weakness. When the Dark Lord fell into a drunken stupor, she pulled a single hair from his head, wrapped it around his neck, and pulled it with all her strength. The head was severed and rolled onto the floor, where it burst into flame. The Dark Lord was revealed as a devil of fire. The 7 wives doused the flames with buckets of water and threw the head into the Mekong River. As soon as the devil disappeared, the sun burst over the horizon, and ever since, the town has been known as Jinghong, the city of the dawn. Today, Jinghong is China's gateway to Southeast Asia. The Mekong River has become an important trade route into China. Today, the river is called the Danube of the East, a watery highway connecting China with Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Jinghong is the first port of call for ships traveling up the Mekong River into China. The once sleepy city is changing fast. Jinghong is little more than 150 miles from northern Thailand, making it the closest land route connecting the two countries. Xishuangbanna Airport is now one of the busiest in the country. More than 7 million people a year visit the region, mostly from China's northern provinces, all keen to experience a taste of the tropics. Thailand is one of Xishuangbanna's nearest neighbors, and they share many things in common. The exotic markets, flavors, and costumes are part of the Southeast Asian tradition. The majority of the population comes from the Dai ethnic group, who are closely related to the peoples of northern Thailand and Laos. Visitors wanting to experience the sights and sounds of other cultures need to leave the city and head into the mountains. Xishuangbanna is home to 14 different ethnic groups, making it one of the most culturally diverse areas in China. At the National Minorities Culture Park, visitors can experience the region's different customs, traditions, and dance moves. These are the Wa people from the mountainous land between Xishuangbanna and Myanmar. The choreography of the hair-swinging dance is designed to highlight the people's long hair, a sign of great beauty for the Wa. Like many ethnic groups, the ancestors of the Wa came to Xishuangbanna over the last 1,000 years. The tiny region on China's southern borders contains a mosaic of different cultures and customs because people migrated from every corner of Asia. Each ethnic minority found a unique way of living in paradise. The Wa farmed in the mountains. The Dai grew rice in the river valleys, while the Jino people specialized in one of China's most lucrative commodities, tea. Rows of tea trees thrive in the high rainfall and humid air found in the mountains. The most ancient tea tree in Xishuangbanna is over 800 years old and still produces a crop of leaves every year. The Jinoa ethnic minority were among the first people to cultivate tea in China. More than 1,200 years ago, tea from Xishuangbanna was being distributed across the country and even into the distant Himalayas. Agriculture is easy in a land with fertile soils, mild climate, and abundant rainfall. Historically, the Genoa people farmed land communally owned by clans or villages. Traditionally, up to 20 families once lived together in one long house, built of wood and bamboo, with their livestock living on the ground floor. But uniquely in Xishuangbanna, men and women once lived in separate villages. Up until 300 years ago, the Genoa were a matriarchal society. Women lived in their own village, and female elders were the leaders of the community. The origins of the Genoa's unique society can be traced back to their first ancestor, a goddess called Amoyobe. The Genoa believe the powerful goddess created the land and the sky for her children. According to legend, under Amoyobe's loving care, the Genoa lived in peace and happiness until one day a terrible flood swept the land and the people seemed doomed to drown. But Amoyobe cut down a tree, turned it into a wooden drum, and set inside a young man and woman. The rainstorm lasted for 7 days and 7 nights. When the floodwaters receded, the couple discovered they were the only survivors. So the pair settled in Xishuangbanna and began a family that would become the Genoa people. Which is why, even today, the Genoa celebrate the new year by dancing around a very big drum. The dance commemorates how the goddess Amoyobe saved the people using what's called a sun drum, because it's surrounded by radiating rays of light. To the Genoa people, the sun drum is not only a musical instrument, but the embodiment of the divine spirits and the symbol of the village. The sun drum is only used in religious rituals and when celebrating important events in the community, like the construction of a new house. However, the sun drum dance is not the most famous celebration in Xishuangbanna. Xishuangbanna is home to China's first cable car built over tropical forests. It stretches 6,000 feet across a valley of pristine rainforest. The cable car is the safest way to travel because the ground belongs to very wild, very large animals. Xishuangbanna is the last stronghold for the only wild elephants remaining in China. Fossil evidence suggests that in ancient China, elephants once roamed as far north as Beijing. But after 4,000 years of hunting and deforestation, Asian elephants had retreated into the tropical jungle of Xishuangbanna. By 1992, there were only 179 wild elephants left in China. So the people of Xishuangbanna came to the rescue. In 2004, a research and rescue center was established in the nature reserve to bring the animals back from the brink of extinction. Elephants, like peacocks, represent good fortune for the people of the Dai ethnic minority. Local authorities are trying to set up a breeding center to raise elephants in captivity, an approach used successfully with the nation's beloved giant panda. While there are over 1,000 giant pandas in the wild, there are little more than 250 wild elephants in Xishuangbanna. But the population is increasing. Few places in China can provide enough food for an elephant, capable of consuming up to 330 pounds of leaves each day. But the fertile forests of Xishuangbanna are the perfect habitat for elephants. This is one of the most abundant and biodiverse regions on Earth, a hothouse for more than 6,000 species of animals and plants. Xishuangbanna is tiny, only 8,000 square miles in China's total area of 3.6 million. And yet, the tropical paradise contains 1/6 of the nation's plant species. And more plants are being found all the time. Only 30 years ago, botanists discovered the tallest tree in China, hidden in the forests of Xishuangbanna. The aptly named sky tree soars up over 260 feet, the same height as a 20-story building. More than 1,000 varieties of plants are economically important. The local people eat 284 species of wild vegetables. 100 species of trees provide high-quality timber, and another 500 plant species are used in traditional Chinese medicine. Botanists were so inspired by the region's plant diversity that in 1959, they built a special garden to research, document, and breed the local species. Xishuangbanna is home to one of the world's greatest tropical botanical gardens, covering more than 2,200 acres and home to over 10,000 species of tropical plants. The botanical gardens also breed the area's rare and endangered butterflies. Almost 100,000 butterflies are raised each year, with 48 species in this flight cage alone. Over 160 researchers at the Botanical Gardens are focusing on biodiversity conservation and sustainable uses of plant resources. They're part of a growing awareness of the need to understand and protect the biological treasure trove within the forests of Xishuangbanna. But the first people in Xishuangbanna found ways to live sustainably in this tropical paradise. The Dai ethnic minority also found a spectacular way to celebrate the life-giving properties of water. In Xishuangbanna, the Dai ethnic minority welcome in the new year by filling bamboo tubes with good luck gifts and gunpowder. But the fireworks are not the most spectacular New Year celebration. At the Xishuangbanna National Minorities Culture Park, the festival begins with a parade led by an elephant. In the Dai culture, elephants are not only a symbol of strength and power, but also of good luck, which is why they're a vital part of a celebration aimed at ensuring a good harvest in the year ahead. The festival is held in April, the driest month in Xishuangbanna. Farmers depend on the coming of seasonal rains for their crops. So to bring an end to scarcity and hasten a period of abundance, the Dai people beseech the divine by splashing each other with water. Historically, it was a sign of reverence to lightly sprinkle family and neighbors with flower stems and tree branches that had been dipped in water. Today, the celebrations are more enthusiastic. People are splashed, not sprinkled, using everything from buckets to squirt guns. The festival takes place at New Year, because this is when the deities visit the land of the living. Since the gods are so close, it's an opportune moment to ask for a good rainy season. Splashing is a way of praying for plenty. The tradition is traced back to India, where classic Hindu texts describe water splashing as a means of washing away sin. In Xishuangbanna, the practice is taken to the extreme. The people of Xishuangbanna revere water as the source of all life. Water has created a land of plenty. Water has created a tropical paradise in the land of the dragon.